Alright, so this is a continuation of the last part for remapping the enhanced inputs. I'm making a second part because I later found out a bunch of stuff that I had to implement and make adjustments for. And one of the things is that having a main menu working alongside in-game remapping. So this is a little main menu and we want to be able to remap the same way we are able to remap in-game. So here this crouch thingy, gonna change it to control, jump into game, and we will have the same ability to remap just as normally. So that's the first thing we're gonna take a look at. Second thing is some of the stuff that I missed. And we're also, for the third thing, we're gonna take a look at how to save the remappings after they have been changed through a save game object. It's going to be very simple. It's just one variable. It's one map variable that's taking the display name and putting in the key. This is important because apparently when the game quits or the session is closed, all these keys that were edited, they will revert back to the original ones that were set during edit time. So the only way we can mitigate that is with a save game object. And we're also going to take a look at how to be able to basically put sensitivity options without using modifiers. So let's go to the first thing in here for being able to identify between a main menu and in-game menu. You'll need an enum for that, which will tell you which HUD to grab. And this enum will be basically, it will be populated through the pre-construct. What's happening here is basically it's telling you you have to assign it what's the name of the level over the main menu. And that will allow you to identify where you are. So, it's very simple stuff. And with this variable, you'll be able to grab the correct HUD down the line. However, you'll still have the same parent blueprint, which is this option tab and this keyboards tab. So for the stuff that I missed, it's this little gate in here. I later found out that this event will fire for anything. For example, this pre-construct is firing this event called refresh input, and when it's completed, it's setting the selected key, and that's firing this event. And we don't want that. We don't want this to fire. We don't want any of this logic to fire. We need to have it closed. So the only time this gate should open is when the selected key has been, selected by the player. So when the player comes and selects the key like this, that's the only time this gate should open. And the other time is when we are saving that key. So this event will be fired from the parent blueprint in here. And when we go through, we have to close it behind as well, just in case of any duplication problems. And the other thing that I forgot to mention is this little function here called inputs children. So that's also in the parent blueprint, parent widget. So all these keys that I put in here manually, they'll also have to be manually added into an array. So you'll have to make a, small function where you populate the array with the keys that you put in here. You can probably also do it like automatically, but it's the same thing kind of. And another thing I implemented is the find if key is allowed. So this is just a boolean. So in case the player is not able to remap that key, we are giving them a little bit of context as to why they can't remap it. So for one, if the key is in use, or for the other part, if the key is not allowed. And the way I'm handling the key is not allowed is with a little data table. So this little data table in here, I basically have all of these different textures that are going to be updated during runtime. So if we can't find any of the keys that were selected by the user, we don't allow them. We'll also have to update the action key afterwards. Alright, so let's take a look at the save game stuff. So all of the saving is happening inside a bigger parent blueprint that's housing the keyboard inputs. And if we look at the graph in here, we also need to get that function. The pre-construct right here, find HUD class. We also need this variable in here for the main menu, so we are able to differentiate. And for the macro that I wanted to go over is this selection, find if keys changed, update key inputs. So this is how you pretty much save it. So that array that we made inside this keyboard inputs widget, we grab it, loop through it, get the display name, and we save it through the save object remap. And that's this event in here. And the other thing is, go over to the designer tab. So this is the save button. Find if keys changed. So this is the macro that you'll need. And basically this macro will be able to find if there's any changes from the save game object. So we just grab the stuff, and if any of them are equal or are not equal to the one in memory, we break the loop and we tell it, hey, it's been changed. And we will change the visibility for the save key in here. And that will basically, be a little bit more dynamic for the player, And the other thing, so focus HUD, oh yeah. So trying to find, yeah, key data. This is the one. So basically, you'll want a save game object, which is this thing again. And if it doesn't load, which is the cast failed, you'll have to create it. So this is a one-time event. And from in here, you save the keyboard stuff. You'll need a little macro in here to save it into the save game object. So that's what you'll need. If it fails, if there is no key data save game object for this key inputs variable, we will create it and we will store it as a variable for whatever it's been set originally in here. And if it is, we just update the key inputs. And that happens on the event construct. And you'll need to have this in the event construct, or it will not update the ones that were saved. So that's pretty much everything for saving and also updating the logic for this. So the next thing that I wanted to go over is changing some of the modifier stuff in here. Now it will be a mess and it will require like some deep logic behind it to identify how many there is, what's the stuff that's allowed to be changed, and I'm not gonna personally implement that in my project, so I'm not gonna go too deep into it. But before I go into how I would implement it personally, I just want to give like a small example of how you would change sensitivity stuff without changing modifier stuff. So, you can completely avoid changing the modifiers if you just do it in a simpler way. So here I have a component. It's a very simple component that allows me to give the player the functionality for inputs. So, for the look, for the crouching, for the jumping, and all that good stuff, and for the move. So if you want to change any of the sensitivities regarding any of these keys that are being fired, just do it in here. Just do it from this. Like this move variable in here. I can just go multiply it, grab it in here, change this to a float, promote it to a variable, and make default value to a 1. Call it move sensitivity. And that's it. And then you can just control this variable as a sensitivity for the moving. And it would work the same exact way for, the mouse stuff for looking. And if you're looking, and if you want an example on how you would achieve this, like visually in a widget blueprint, we can take a look at the stuff I implemented for SFX. I haven't implemented this sensitivity stuff yet, but this is how I'm going to approach it because I don't want to touch any of these modifier things in here. And here's the SFX stuff. So I made a little widget blueprint called slider bar dynamic. So you'll just need a image, progress slider, and a text block to give the, player context for what the hell they're changing. Oh, and the reason why I made it an image is because this is basically a flipbook, and I'm selecting which one I want. So there's 100 of them in here, so I know it's going to be updated correctly by the progress slider widget. It's updated by the progress slider variable, which is this event in here. On value changed, and I changed the flipbook animation phase, which is this thing, animation phase. I know it's a bit redundant to use this, but it just gives me a lot more freedom visually to do this in After Effects. So yeah, you can use the same functionality in here to update sensitivity stuff. However, if you want to, give yourself hell through modifiers, the way I would do this, like this little widget blueprint will have a bunch of extra stuff in here, and it's gonna have to be dynamically added and removed.